Hey folks, welcome. So in this section of the course, we're going to take a look at AWS Lambda. And of course, we're going to look at it from a DevOps perspective. We'll just answer the question, what is Lambda? And in subsequent lessons, we'll go in depth about how Lambda works. And we'll do a Lambda walkthrough from the management console. AWS provides several example demos that you can walk through. Then we'll take a look at Lambda with CloudFormation. And I really like Lambda with CloudFormation because the CloudFormation template really allows you to see the inner workings of Lambda and all the components that make up Lambda. It's just a good platform to really visualize Lambda and how it all ties together. And my favorite example with CloudFormation is the ability with Lambda to look up AMIs, Amazon Machine Images, real time. This is such a useful function and one of my favorite parts of AWS. And then we'll take a look at deploying to Lambda. And when I say deploying to Lambda, I'm referring to deployment pipelines, AWS Code Pipeline, AWS Code Deploy. We can do deployments to Lambda. We can version Lambda. All of that good stuff that we talked about in the last section of the course. And finally, we'll talk about Lambda use cases. And certainly, as we go through this section, we're going to touch on several use cases, but we'll wrap all of that up in the last lesson and show several examples of really good use cases for Lambda. And with an eye on the certification exam, it's always good to think in terms of use cases. Really, when you get some of those long questions on the exam, it really boils down to, okay, what is the use case for this scenario that they're presenting? So having a good handle on Lambda use cases will certainly help you in preparation for the exam and beyond in real-world scenarios. So that all begs the question, what is Lambda? So Lambda is a compute service that lets you run code without provisioning or managing servers. Now think about that for a minute. That's pretty important. Now we've certainly covered Elastic Beanstalk in depth, and Elastic Beanstalk is very helpful in deploying your code. But remember, when you're using Elastic Beanstalk, you specify all of the resources that you're going to be using. Web servers, database servers. Now Lambda is similar to Elastic Beanstalk in that it certainly does simplify things. But it even goes a step further. You're not dealing with hardware at all. You're simply providing your code to AWS and they handle all the rest. Now you can trust that there are servers back there somewhere, but they're of absolutely no concern of yours. And when you poke around in your AWS management console, you will not see these servers that are running your Lambda code. They're not your responsibility. You're not being charged for those servers. The only thing you're being charged for is the time that your code is running. Lambda executes your code only when needed and scales automatically from a few requests per day to thousands per second. Again, here's the key point. You pay only for the compute time you consume. There is no charge when your code is not running. And just think about that compared to Elastic Beanstalk, or for that matter, EC2. If you have servers that are online and running, that are in a ready state, you're being charged for those servers. Unless you put them in a stopped state. Again, with Lambda, you're not getting charged for that. You only get charged for when your code is running. So there is zero administration of those back-end servers. Couple key points about Lambda. Lambda is stateless. Your Lambda functions are not holding any state. If you need to hold state, you need some other resources such as S3 or DynamoDB. This is really the key point about Lambda. Lambda is event-driven. Now, if you look at our diagram and you'll look in the middle, it says Lambda is triggered. And it's very similar to database triggers. Something triggers Lambda into action. And just a couple examples here. So photos are uploaded to an S3 bucket, that triggers Lambda. That is when your Lambda function executes. And there aren't a lot of limitations on your Lambda function. It's code, and it can be several different kinds of code. We'll get into that in future lessons. But your Lambda function is just sitting there on the AWS managed hardware. It runs on EC2. And it's just waiting for a trigger, uploading a photo to S3. Or the second example, an order is placed to DynamoDB. So those events trigger your Lambda function. So that's the simplified view of Lambda. Obviously, there's more to it, but the overall theme is that simple. Your Lambda function is waiting for that action to trigger it. So in this lesson, we've just talked a little bit about what is Lambda, and we're going to step through this section of the course, talk about how Lambda works. We'll do a walkthrough. We'll have a great example, Lambda with CloudFormation. We'll talk about deploying to Lambda with our deployment pipelines. We'll probably use one we've already created in the deployment pipelines section. So let's go ahead and dive into Lambda. Please join me in the next lesson.